her students there, and I reached out to her because I was a guest faculty there as a Fulbright Scholar in 2007. So it's been a long time, and it left quite an impression, my experience there, and how students, I had not met her there. I knew who she was. I was a little intimidated. She's a rock star there. And so I reached out and we chatted a couple months ago. And so I'm really excited that she's made time to introduce you and share this very special institution and her role there as Dean and Vice President of Academic Affairs, if I have that correct, and former faculty member, and who's been there for well over 20 years, if I'm correct there, and the first woman in this role, I believe, also, which is awesome. So I'll just let Dr. Shan introduce herself from here, and I may, whenever you're through, or if you have anything you'd like to share visually, we can share the screen with you. Otherwise, we're fine hearing what you have to say. My general idea here was that I was curious about her story, which I'd not get, and how she got connected to this, to Earth University, and perspectives of students there who are representing close to 40 countries, I think, or from around the world attend Earth. So there's language and culture and a strong ethic foundation at Earth. So with that, Dr. Shan, if you would, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, and good. Well, I think that in your area is good afternoon. Here is good morning, still good morning. So so happy to be here and share with you a little bit what we do here at our university. And I don't know, and I don't know if it's part of the protocol that you don't put your camera on. I always I feel more comfortable if I can see your faces. So feel free if you put your camera on, and again, feel free to ask anything. I have a presentation, but I don't know. I have just 30 minutes. Sorry about that. I have another meeting, but feel free to ask me anything that you want to know about Earth. As Dr. Rose said, I'm the Dean and Vice President. I have been here for 27 years. I don't know if you can put your hands like this if you know anything about Earth, anything, because it's interesting. If you don't know, if you know Costa Rica, actually, because it's something that define what Earth is. Okay, any little hand. So Earth University is in the middle, the humid tropics in Costa Rica. Costa Rica, do you know where it is? Okay, good. We're a tiny, tiny country in the middle of Central America. And why Earth was created is because we are a teenager. We have 32, just celebrate the 22nd anniversary. We are a university that has more than 30, right now, 37 different countries represented in this university. Just a student body. But more than 50 countries represented in the whole community. We have faculty from more than 16 countries all around the world. Why we are so international? And just 20% Costa Rican students, and just 40% faculty members. We speak Spanish, that's the main language, which is interesting because we have a student from 36 different countries, 16 African countries, Europe, Central America, and all the America, the continent the American continent. So we are that international. We didn't start like this. We were created actually by USDA money. And we have, when we were created, we have the founders create this university with one main goal: how we can do something different that the rest of universities are doing at that time in the 86. And what is that difference that we have that other university doesn't have? So, and I know that you belong to one university right now because you are working there, but probably you came from different universities, right? Probably all around US, I assume. But the question is, like, to go to your universities, to start your college, you had to do probably one or a couple of things. And the main one was a test, a college board or something similar. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a placement test, yeah.
What about if you fail that? Probably you can't go in that university, you have to apply for another, right? You didn't even know the university, but you apply for that. Well, what happened with that group of kids that they can't pass that college board? What happened with those kids that they have an access to high school and schools, but in a very poor neighborhood? Or in Latin America, in a lot of places, we don't have access to that kind of private high schools or private, high class education. But what happened with those kids? They are not able to pass a college board test. Are they good kids? Or that's a group of students that they can't go to any university? So what happened with them? Well, they go to, in Latin America, a lot of them, they become the workers in a factory or whatever. Not because they are not smart, it's just because they didn't have the access. That's not fair for them. Or they are, the daughter or the son of a family who works on the field. They are farmers. And they don't think that they can apply to a university. So this university was created thinking in those kids. So how we take those kids? They are good kids. But if we do just a college board test, well, we will say yes or no. So what we do here is we interview in the admission process, we select the students. And if you ask me how we do that, well, we go to any country where we have candidates. Yeah, we know Zambia, we know Swatini, and we go to Uganda or US or any other country in Europe. And we talk with the students, with the candidates, and we ask them. And we check if they have the profile. And we have a profile that we are looking for. And yeah, the academic, that kind of skills, we check that too. And we have a college board test, or we call Earth test. But we interview them. And what we are looking for is that kind of, and I don't like to call that soft skills, but that kind of skills that the student, that we can, like a Plato, understand that is soft enough to work on that. And what we are doing with that is prepare leaders. Yeah, we have, and I didn't say that at the beginning because I wanted to put that introduction to tell you that we have just one career here, just one. Yeah, we have more than 10,000 acres in this university, and we have just 400 students. 400. From, as I said, 36 different countries. We just have one career, which is agronomy. But in our mission, we said that when we prepare our leaders, actually in our mission, the agronomy word or any related with human or natural resources or anything like that is in our mission. What we say is prepare leaders, that those leaders can go and do something for our society. So that mission can be in any career, actually. I was doing my work, checking your offer, everything that you do, which is very interesting. And I was thinking, our mission can fit in your college. It's because, prepare leaders has to be something that everybody has to do if we are in that business, which is education. So that's what we do. We prepare leaders, and we have the best skills, agronomy. I mean, we have to eat 3 times per day. But when we realize that more than 50% what we produce on the field remain on the field, or we don't like it, just because we don't like it. And when I say we, it's the consumers, we are doing something wrong. So our kids are aware about that. But we prepare is that kind of leader with that kind of social and environmental awareness, that kind of entrepreneurship. We don't want our kids going and knock the door and say, you know what, I need a job. It's more like they go and knock the door and say, you know what, I have a proposal. I want to create jobs. So it's a different approach through agronomy. So that's how different we are. What happened with those kids that come from rural areas? I mean, that they really, the high schools, that they come, we have refugees here. Refugees who come from a refugee camp, that they have 200,000 refugees in one camp. They were born in a refugee camp. Imagine the access to education there. So but we bring them here. How we do that? Those kids, they don't have the, math skills or chemistry or whatever. So we recognize that, and we have a whole parallel program to put those kids in the right level. Because they need, they need the access of that kind of information, or access to this university like this or another one. But they will never afford that if we don't help them. And how many universities in the world understand that we have a big group of kids that they can do it, but they need help before that. So what about those kids that they don't speak Spanish? If we teach in Spanish, well, we have a whole program to teach them to speak Spanish, to learn that kind of language. So this is how different we are. The rest is probably we are similar to other universities, but what we want to say is like we have that as a, that's what makes us different. For me, is like we bring the student that we want. We go and we select them wherever they are. So that's saying that I can go for hours. I don't have a lot of time. I want actually open the the Zoom or the micro for if you have any question or doubts or comments.
Can you share what a typical day looks like, Dr. Shand, for a student at Earth?
Yeah. Our career is 4 years. A week. I will talk about a week. We start 6:30 a.m. We finish 6 p.m. From Monday to Saturday. 70% of our academic program is hands-on. our academic model is based in two pillars: learning by doing, and the academic program is, we look the student as the center, not the opposite. Usually the faculty member is the center. You know, the professor is there and give information to the student. In our model, the student is in the middle and the professor is a facilitator. That's a different approach. So that happens during the week. Wednesday and Saturdays, they have what we call work experience. If we want to understand, if we want that they understand what is a farmer, they work with farmers. If we want that they understand what is a company, they work with companies. And they do that 2 days per week. If we want that they understand what is, what is live in a family that they don't have electricity, well, we can explain that in a whiteboard, or we can put them living with it. So it's 6:30 to 6 from Sunday to Saturday, and we have 70% of everything that happens in that week is in the field. It's in a lab, it's with families, it's with farmers, it's in any of our farms. We have 7 different farms and they work there. That's pretty much how it works. We have an internship in the 3rd year and they can go wherever they want. Some of them, they decide to go home, well, not home, but in the same country. That's what we expect, but some of them, they go to US in some college or universities. Some of them, they go, we have a student going to Asia, any place, because what we want is like they choose, we don't choose for them. Yeah, it's part of the learning process. I don't know if you have any question or comment.
Well, I'm curious about, since we have students so diverse, such a diverse student population culturally from around the world, and how is, and I see empathy and understanding is part of, I think, the mission. How do students come together and create some unity or understanding among such a diverse, and they're largely alone, that I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about creating some unity and understanding and empathy at Earth, since it is a science, kind of a science-rooted curriculum, that some of the arts and that might facilitate some of that understanding. How does that taught, or is it organic in nature?
Both. The Students Affairs Office, they have a whole program. They know them even before they come to Earth. They check them and say, well, we have a student that really has math issues, or that student comes from a tribe, and we have to understand that kind of, it's as you say, it's very multicultural in many ways, many ways. We have a student that from Uganda, and his family was murdered in the genocide, things like that. Or we have a student who is the son of a president in a South American country. How you put it together? Actually, we do it, we use that. And at the dorms, that's another, you assume that the student lives here on campus, we put that kind of thing, that mix, that contrast. The president, the student who is the son of a president in a South American country, would put it with a refugee that doesn't speak the language. So we have a co-curriculum that is not explicit. And we put it together, and we recognize that that is a learning process too. How you prepare leaders? We don't have we don't have a leadership a class that we call leadership 101 or teamwork 101, or but how they understand and adapt each other in a dorm, in a very small dorm. I mean, that's a whole learning process, adaptation. And our students at the end of the 4 years, they learn, we speak here more than 30 languages, 30. Obviously, the main language and the official is Spanish, but we have X number of dialects from Africa, South America, Mexico, different language. For us, that is a full immersion, and we recognize that that is part of the program. And one of the things that I want to share with you, the student knows that since the very beginning. And when a student here leave the campus and finish the program for 3 reasons. One is academic. Our students, they can't fail classes. I'm sure that in your university, probably, if one student fail, he or she can continue in the next trimester or whatever you have, and catch up the class that fail. I imagine. Well, that's what happened here in Costa Rica, but at ERNO, if you fail, you leave. 1, 2, if you have a behavior that is against our values, you leave. Because for us, it's important. It's how a student pass a class, but it's also important how you are as a human being. So a student who, I just yesterday, I had to say goodbye to one student who was, in drugs and doing silly things. We can't, we are preparing leaders. You have one chance, but if you continue, well, maybe this is not the university that you need, because we really want to work. So that kind of, they know that. We talk with them and we explain to them that this is not just agronomy or past chemistry or pathology. It's more than that. And we recognize that in anything that we do. When we have like tournaments, like soccer tournaments, we evaluate them through their behavior. So and it's not agronomy. We don't want the student during the game, fight with the other and kick. That's what you want, or cheat in a test. No, we don't want that kind of behavior. And if you want to do that, then maybe this is not what you need. So that's the curriculum, and that's how one student from Ghana needs to adapt to one student from Costa Rica. I mean, food is completely different. They have a whole adaptation, and some of them they can't. Some of them they can't, and we have to say goodbye to them. But at the time that they cross that, that homesick or whatever we name that, they became an international people. We don't call us as Costa Rican or American or any country. We call us Earthians, because we are different. It's a global culture. No.
I don't see any. I'll keep asking questions. I don't think Nicole, there's nothing right in the chat. I'm not seeing anything. So one thing that I came away with that made a very lasting impression on me is if you were to as I met and learned student stories there, I heard students often start a sentence with, I want, and it didn't, and that sentence did not end with me. It tended to be, I want to go back and help. I want to build something that supports other people. That ethic and that principle just seemed to be in the heart of every student. It's very powerful. And I don't know if you have a comment about that. That's not really a question, how that happens. But, I think ethics in the university, in my experience, can often be overlooked for the career kind of orientation, what you're going to get out of it. And at Earth, my experience was something different when I listened to students talk.
Yeah, I will answer that asking you, how many students do you have?
We have like, 9,000.
Okay, I know the name of all my students, the 400. Yeah, that makes a huge difference. Why? Because I talk with them. If one professor report a problem, we have 440 faculty members. So it's one faculty member, 10 students. So we know them. We know their problems. We know what they are doing. When they came here first year 4 months ago, we have programs with them. We talk with them. We heard the stories, personal stories. And yesterday we have the dinner, the welcome dinner for first year students. One student said something, and maybe I answer your question. That 4 years up, first year student, 4 months, and the director, and the dinner was in the director house, and the director asked one question: why you are here? And the student said, because I know one Earthian that is from my country, and what I want is do what he's doing. And he said, what I want is like come to Earth and have my light bigger. And what I understand is like Earth teach us to use the light, not just for me, but to share with a lot of people. And that's the whole point about our system. What we want is like our student goes and really do things for others. I mean, if we don't do that, this world will be soon not a nice world. So that's what we try to teach them. Everything that you learn here is not for you, for others. And how they help each other. We have a tutor, a mentor program. Student who knows a lot and they are good in math, they teach the classmate that they are not that good in math, and we pay them to do it. So it's a collaboration program, and that is very, very successful program because they help each other. And yeah, it's a really, I don't know, it's a I will be happy if any of you can come to Air. I always say you can't understand Air, but you have to live it. And I think that's what you, Dr. Ross, put me in this Zoom call.
Well, I know you have your time is precious today. I want to thank you again. I'm going to invite anybody if they'd like to stick around. I can maybe answer a few more questions about my experience there several times as a guest teacher. But I want to thank you again very much. And I hope to talk to you again before another 10 years goes by. But
I hope so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a good day.
You too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. So Phip, you were a Fulbright Scholar there, is that correct? Do you want to chat about that for a minute?
Yeah, so it's been a long time. Apparently, things go. In 2007, I got lucky enough to get accepted. My application was accepted. I just called schools. I was drawn to Spanish-speaking institutions that weren't that were bilingual also, because I'm not a Spanish speaker, but it was been a long time goal, still is, to work at an institution where I could learn some language and have a very cultural experience. And I was calling them or emailing, and Alonso, who has passed away since, I'm afraid, younger than me, I think, cancer, at Earth, answered the phone and said yes to me. We could use you. So I would be teaching an advanced English course there. So they were some of them were native English speakers from the US or Canada, but most of the students were non-native speaking Africans, so, or Spanish, multiple languages, but they were pretty solid with their English. But so I taught some English. We did a digital storytelling, multimedia kinds of work in those courses that I was able to do a couple more times. That Fulbright experience, though, paid for my family. We had 3 children to come, so it was, and live on campus. So Earth is rural. It's in the middle of a jungle, and it has, you know, if you buy a banana at Whole Foods, there's a decent chance that it comes from Earth University. So they are one of their corporate, you know, collaborators. But sustainability and bananas, I don't think is a very good product for the, you know, the environment. Such as deforestation and whatnot, but they do study that and grow it, and it helps support the school. Although, okay, so yeah, I was there for, I think, 7 or 8 months and taught a trimester, and have returned, and I got to see a lot of the country while I was there, and got mostly connected with the English faculty there who were teaching basically ESL. But it is, and everybody, the students there wanted to talk to me in English. So my Spanish didn't exactly take off, and I had, I still tried. I had several embarrassing stories to share if anybody wants to hear those sometime. Yeah, it's an amazing country. I did spend my first 2 weeks in San Jose in a language school. Before traveling by myself to Earth, which is toward the Caribbean side of the country, and had residents, lovely residents. They have quite an international people that visit there. Some US students come to visit and take a semester there. I kind of wish I had a student who I met in 2007 who earned his PhD at the University of Missouri, his master's at University of Florida, and he's now at Texas A&M. And he was going to join us, but he had 10 minutes, and I wish I would have taken him up on 10, but he was really squeezing that into his day. But I'm happy to say I'm in communication with some of those folks still after all this time, and to give you an idea that, you know, some of these are very academically gifted with their education that they get, that's very obviously science-based, but business-based also. If I had a question to ask her again, is about usually I think it's Wednesday afternoon, students go work in the community, which involves travel. And, you know, 2 years ago, I had a sabbatical from SEC and was in Puerto Rico. And I talked to a business class at the University of Puerto Rico, again, cold calling faculty around that island to come visit and learn. But she was the one faculty who said yes. And she was struck by, and my son Zach was with me, about volunteer work that he did at his institution, Warren Wilson College in North Carolina, which service is part of that education. And volunteering seemed to be kind of a foreign, strange concept that might be more in developed, quote unquote, developed, is a developed country economy's idea of, giving back. And I thought that was fascinating. And I was going to bounce that off of her, of how students view service differently than maybe some of the students there, I don't want to generalize, might view service differently than maybe some of us have been cultured to think of it as maybe a special time I cut out, or it's just, we don't call it volunteer service. That's just part of what we do every day, or something else. But it had me question how I viewed my service work as volunteer work. But they do, every student there does that. As she said, at 6:30, I would be waking up on, and the students would be bicycling out to the fields with their boots, and their jungle cover up stuff if it's raining, which a lot of time. And I'd be at breakfast when they're just returning from their research and their field work. So their kind of research, her specialty is food processing. So it sounds very educationally, just agronomy, but really I think it's very diverse in terms of its business, industry kinds of approaches, food processing, like I said, and other farming. Most of those students come from tropical areas, I believe, to support kind of a curriculum for sustainability ag in the tropics. So, we see green. I think they've been 100% carbon neutral for many years. It would have been interesting to hear talk about how they do that. Because everywhere you go, there's guys in full covered plastic gear with these monster weed eaters to keep the jungle at bay. It's a gorgeous campus, but they're constantly fighting the jungle from just growing in on the campus. So they're obviously burning gas on those, or they were at that time. Lots of weed eaters. Didn't see too many lawnmowers. Anyway. I have so the campus, obviously there are no hallways. You're outside all the time. They're covered walkways. And I had a snake outside my office one day, which thought was kind of a fun, imagine us having wildlife or monkeys outside your office door. There's snakes, and little different academic climate. All right, so I kind of gushing there. Off the cuff, but thank you for asking about the experience. Yeah.
Any other questions for Phip? Okay, well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Phip, for sharing your experiences. That was really interesting. I don't think I would enjoy a snake outside my door, but now I'll be checking.
It was like the SWAT team, they don't have shooter, they don't have practice. They probably have practice, poisonous snake, the team of people that come collect this snake handlers or whatever the insect or creepy crawly thing that could be approaching. That's who gets called. Okay. Thanks everybody who stuck it out here with me.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good Friday.